Hello, listeners. Welcome to the second season of Personal Effects. I'm Warren.
I'm Alex.
Was that too much excitement?
That was like so much excitement. Like you waved in the air when you said hello. Like there were actually people here other than me.
Okay, so this is our first episode of the second season. What do people need to know about this going into it?
I'd say the only thing they need to know is that some of the names are pseudonyms.
Yeah.
With the exception of Robbie.
Robbie's a real guy.
Well, they're all real people.
Yeah.
But Robbie
that's a real name.
Yes, it's his birth name.
Yes. I guess we should maybe mention that this episode isn't about an object. It's about a song.
If you want to mention that.
Well, it's our first episode that does that, so maybe the listeners
Do you think people are going to turn it off? You think they're going to be like, what the fuck? I thought this show was about objects.
But is a song an object? Who knows?
No, it's not. People know.
Anyway, this is let's how do we get into it?
You just play it.
All right, I'm just gonna play it.
Enjoy.
My name is Robbie, and I live in Seattle. I'm a carpenter, and I play music. I'm in a band called Trick Candles, and then I also have a Prince tribute band called Purple Main, and I portray Prince in that band.
How long has Purple Main been around?
For approximately 3 years. It started on Halloween. It's been pretty successful, and we just played a show last weekend. There was about 500 people there, which felt really nice.
Last year in the spring when Prince passed away, what was the band's reaction? What was your reaction?
I think everyone in the band felt like, oh wow, we take his music seriously, but it took on a different meaning now. It's like, if we're going to perform his music, we have to do it right. We can't half-ass Prince. We try to make a balance of a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek, but also respecting the music and putting on a great show.
Like it truly is a tribute band.
My name is Carmen. I'm from Spain. I came to the U.S. about 12 years ago. I've spent most of my grown-up life here, and I'm a translator and an interpreter.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you met Mark and when that was and what were the circumstances?
I met him a few years ago, and he was a very successful attorney, and I was the help. And what I found really attractive about him when I met him was the fact that despite his social status, he was able to treat the help as equals. And I later on learned that he actually came from nothing and turned things around for himself. He was unhappy in his marriage, and I was unhappy in my own. And we decided to change that. We basically chose to change our unhappy lives and pursue happier ones. It was like dealing with cancer for somebody going through chemo. It's very painful, but there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and we both knew or thought that things were going to be better eventually.
And when you came out the other side, was it pretty good for a while?
It was excellent. It was great. It really was. Yeah, it was like a dream come true. It was what companionship is supposed to look like. We were both thoroughly supportive of each other, and coming from relationships where we were both feeling inadequate, to feel so supported and loved was certainly, it made all the transition worthwhile. Pretty quickly after we met, we knew that we wanted to be together and were meant to be together because we had so many things in common, and music was a big thing in our relationship. He played music, I sang, and yeah.
Could you guys tell us how you met?
So I'm a carpenter, like I said, and I was called to repair some windows on the top floor of this house. And I got there and proceeded to make some noise upstairs, tearing apart the old windows. I was doing some banging, and it was probably, 10 in the morning, and I noticed a woman go out the front door to the front lawn and look up at me. I assumed that she was annoyed that I was making noise at an early hour. I had just this impression of her as a very professional woman who was a no-nonsense, I'm going to give you a what for if you cross me wrong. You know what I mean? And so I made up this story in my head that, oh man, she's probably on a really important business call right now, and she's going to let me have it for making all this noise up here. I said, oh, great. And then I heard the doorbell ring. She rang the door to the apartment above where I was working. And I was like, okay, I understand. I'll go down and calm her. I'm very soothing. The way I remember it, were you kind of like, this is weird, but I think I might know you? Or
I'd already made up my mind that I knew you.
I know, but you were a little like, do you play in a band?
That was the question.
The question,
Yeah.
okay. I assumed it was, she probably knew me from Purple Main. You know, I had all my hair tucked into my ball cap. I had tools and whatnot. I did not look anything like Prince, I can guarantee. So I was a little perplexed as to how she recognized me. And I said, yes, I play in Trick Candles, this band, and I also play in this Prince cover band, Purple Main. And then she got this she kind of stepped back and was like, put her hand over her heart and said, wow, I've seen you perform at the Tractor Tavern with the Bowie cover band, and I remember you. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm always happy to meet a fan. That's good. I don't know. I didn't know what to say, but and then the things took a turn. I did not expect what was coming next.
Before in my life, I had never believed in woo-woo stuff. But for some reason, that whole week was very woo-woo in every way. So, Mark had taken his own life a week before. And he and I had joked about how hard it had been for Prince to die that year, and for Bowie to die the same year. And we joked about how, gosh, who's going to be next? What's going to be the next loss? And then this was a week after he had passed, exactly a week after. And I had his body, we had a viewing, and I had a moment with him alone. And I had a silly moment where I chose to have Purple Rain in the background and just kind of held his hand there for a bit listening to Purple Rain. And then I see Robbie in the building, and I think, this guy looks awfully familiar, and I don't know where I've seen him before, and I can't stop thinking about it, and I obsess over it, and eventually it hits me that he's the guy from Purple Rain. And Mark and I had gone to that show, and we'd had a blast. And we'd thought he was the whole band, I mean, they were wonderful, all of them. And we had a great time. And then on the radio, even on the way home one day, we were listening to the radio, and they were talking about how this guy was a carpenter and he had made his own guitar, and Mark and I had been talking about going to see them again whenever they were around. And so I thought, gosh, this is Mark trying to communicate something to me. He sent Robbie to the building.
So you and Mark were in the car, and Robbie was on. They were talking about Robbie on the radio.
Yes, and about how he'd made his own guitar, and we were like, wow, very impressed.
That's very woo-woo.
That's how I made the connection, because I knew that he was working on something related to the building. Like he was saying, he did not look anything like Prince while he was doing that kind of work.
So it clicks, and you're like, this is the guy.
Yes.
You walk up to him. You think that she's going to chew you out.
Yeah, exactly.
And instead, what happens?
Instead, I come down the stairs, and we're on the porch of this building, and then she tells me this story about Mark taking his life in this apartment just a week prior to me being there, and I didn't know what to do, but I gave her a hug. I'm so sorry. Wow. Where do you go from there? So I was stammering like I am now, and then I think she had a great solution to end this awkward exchange. She told me a bit about Mark and their relationship on the porch there, and then she mentioned that they had music history, that they would sing songs together, and in fact, Mark has guitars in the apartment. It was a bit of a strange, almost demanding request for me to play Purple Rain for her on the spot at 10 a.m. with no vocal warm-up. You know, I have to light some incense, some candles. There's a whole procedure I go through when I get ready. But given the circumstances, I said, yes, I will play Purple Rain for you.
Carmen, do you remember what?
Oh, I already had a plan.
Right when you saw him?
Before I approached him, I already had the plan. Yeah, and he was like, I don't mean to sound woo-woo, and I'm the most rational person. But the minute that I saw him and recognized him, it was clear to me that this was Mark's plan. And, you know, that might or might not be true. But that's how it felt. I mean, I was convinced that this was going to happen.
So I walk into the apartment, and the first thing I notice is a ginormous flower bouquet. It was like, oh, wow, this is fresh. This just happened. And so it kind of got real, like, oh, I better perform the hell out of this song. So it's a little awkward just going into someone's apartment that you don't know. Your apartment was fine. It was very tidy.
Thanks for lying.
No. So what I was feeling was just very, I'm a little uncomfortable, and this is very intimate. I've never been the type to just like I don't want to. I'd want to write a song for my girlfriend and perform it to her. I feel like that'd be really awkward. I'm not a person who feels energy. Like there's a weird vibe, man. But I felt it. It was very quiet. It was just her and I. And she brought me Mark's guitar from a different room, and I tuned it up the best I could and kind of gave a cleared the throat a little bit and played Purple Rain.
It's at this point that Carmen took out her phone and started filming.
See what I can do.
Never meant to cause you any sorrow. Never meant to cause you any pain. Only wanted one time see you laughing. I only want to see you bathing in the purple rain. I never want to be your...
I think I made it into the second verse, and I heard a knock at the door. As a performer, if you have a hiccup, you keep going. So I kept playing, and the person kept knocking. And finally, I just said,
Come on in. It's such a shame our friendship had to end.
Hi, sorry.
That's okay.
Purple Rain.
Purple rain, purple rain.
So at the door was my uncle who had come from a different country to help me deal with the aftermath.
I'm singing this song as a tribute to Mark, and it's very heavy at that point. I just decide to let this strange person into the house while I'm playing.
I was ready to just let it go and not let him in. I figured, if I heard music and nobody was answering, I would just stop. I actually talked to him about that afterwards. I mean, it was rude, I thought. And I've shown it to other friends and they've said, it's so obvious he wants to go to the bathroom. It was very anxious, wasn't it? Very anxious knocking.
Purple rain, purple rain.
And I powered through. We powered through.
Only want to see you bathing in the...
Finished the song, and it felt good. And in fact, she told me a bit about her and Mark's relationship and how they planned to get married. And she did say that she hadn't even smiled that whole week leading up to this. She'd been so sad, understandably, and it brought some sort of joy to her. And I was so happy that I could bring her a little bit of happiness in all this sorrow. We discussed how we're not the type of people who believe in ghosts, or we're not religious people, yet this experience made us feel something. It made us feel like, wow, that was weird.
I can only speak for how I felt. I felt like I don't mean to sound too corny or overly emotional, but it was huge to me because it felt as if Mark had found a way to say goodbye to me. And so I felt this huge happiness, joy mixed with sadness. And also that whole week after Mark's passing, it felt as though I was never going to feel a connection with anybody else ever again. And this thing kind of brought me back down to earth, back down to how life is really worth living. And even though you might lose people, I don't know. I'm about to get emotional here, but it felt great, and I'm very grateful, and I'm really appreciative of the fact that Robbie was willing to do this for me, because I realized that it was just so random, and other people might not have been so open to doing that. I think he realized that it was important to me, and he did it.
It was nice to share a moment with someone like that, even if it was someone who I didn't know. It was very meaningful in a weird way.
Thanks so much to Robbie and Carmen, and to Patrick Flynn for doing the music on that episode, and to Janelle Langford for continuing to do the art on our website.
Yeah. I would like to briefly mention that after we recorded this episode, I ran into Carmen in a public bathroom at a Eugene Merman concert.
Oh my God. That's so woo-woo.
It was very woo-woo. We both commented on that immediately.
How woo-woo it was?
Yes.
The woo-woo-ness of it all?
It was the woo-wooiest.
I think you put one extra woo in there.
I sure did. That's how woo-woo it was. But she's a lovely lady, and I think we're going to be friends. So, okay, I'm going to tell you a story that relates slightly to this episode, okay?
Okay. All right.
So, this is in the past. I get a call from my mom.
Uh-huh.
She says, "Alex, are you okay?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Are you okay?" It's like, "Mom, what are you talking about?" She's like, "I just heard Purple died." And I was like, "Mom, who is Purple?" She said, "You know, Purple, the singer." I said, "Are you talking about Prince?" She said, "Oh, yeah. He likes purple."
He does like purple.
He does. And that's how I found out that Prince died.
If anyone could go by just a color, it would be Prince.
Yes. And now whenever I think of Prince, I think of that conversation with my mom. And to me, now he is just purple.
Maybe that's the name of this episode, just purple.
Just purple. So we have got a lot of pans on the stove.
Yeah,
Is that a saying?
I think so. It's balls in the air.
Dicks on the ground.
That would be more like it, I think.
Okay, so season 2 is happening. We have a lot of dicks on the ground.
Yeah.
And
They're scattered all over the place. It's like pickup sticks. Pickup dicks.
which is why it's taken us a little bit longer to get this episode out than we had.
Originally planned.
Yes.
We said beginning of summer, so I think we're about on time, but we have no idea when the next episode's going to come out or the one after that.
Yeah, it's going to be soon. We're working on some stuff, and this season is about music. If you're a music person, a person that has a story about your music or someone else's, get in touch with us.
Yeah. Send us an email. We have a email address. Did you know this, Alex?
I have never checked our email. So
Well, it's personaleffectspodcast@gmail.com. And the password is dicks on the ground.